There's nothing worse than being bombarded with a bunch of numbers that you can't add fast enough in your head to really know where you're going to fall on that scale when you're trying to stay within a budget building a house. Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Danielle, and today I'm so excited because today is such a special day. Today marks the very first step in our home building process. So we've already gone through the steps of saving and house hunting and just waiting on the wait list to be able to build this house. And today we're actually going to go to the model and meet with our real estate agent and the community manager for the neighborhood that we're moving into. And we're going to be able to pick our lot and pick some of our options. So I'm not 100% sure of everything that we're going to be choosing today, but I know for sure we're going to be choosing like the elevation and any structural changes, things like that. So I think that that is the entirety of what's going to happen today. And then of course, like I said, also picking out a lot. And then we're also going to be signing our contract today. So yeah, I'm going to take you guys along with me. And I just really wanted to document this process so we have something to look back on. And for anyone else out there who's considering building a house, so you have a frame of reference and you know what's going to happen at each step. So if you're interested in learning more about this process, if you're interested in building a home of your own and you just really want some information about how the process goes, then you are in the right place. And there are going to be future videos that are going to continue to document the process. So yeah, you're definitely in the right place, and just keep on watching.
I'll probably be more to the left side of this hill.
Yeah. But I mean, I was expecting like a much steeper hill than this.
It's kind of steep.
I was expecting like a roller coaster drop. Like this is pretty doable. Yeah, it's not like, oh my God, you can't even walk on this. Oh, this is the driveway for 168. No, because it'll be is on beside 167.
That was just there. They didn't clear that. That's part of that.
Why would you say that?
I'm playing.
If it is, you better jump in front of me and save my life.
That's the only thing I'm afraid of. It's gonna be no good.
Oh, you better be some good.
Most of this will be gone.
We didn't know we were going hiking today.
Okay, so it is the next day, and I have all the details now about the house. I was gonna like update you guys yesterday, but the day just got away from us. We spent 3 hours in that meeting, and then afterward I tried to pull out my camera to like talk you guys through what had just happened, but the sun was shining so bright that it just would have looked crazy. So here we are the next day, and I'm going to tell you guys everything that happened yesterday. So because the builder has sent us all of the information up front, we had most of the pricing for pretty much every option that you could get. We had pictures, they had design center videos where they show you what's included and what everything looks like, and we had pictures of samples for cabinets and countertops and everything that you could pretty much think of that would go into this house. Doorknobs, lighting fixtures, carpets, hardwood, vinyl, like everything that you could think of that would go into this house. They sent it to us up front like months ago, so we were able to kind of pick and choose the things that we would want to pay for, that we wouldn't want to pay for, the things that we liked and we didn't like, and just kind of sift through everything. So I had a spreadsheet already ready to go for this meeting, and I knew pretty much how much everything was going to cost that we were going to add, all the options that we were adding. So part of that process was looking at the site. Once we chose an elevation, which just is basically like what the outside of the house is going to look like, and for us we chose the most expensive elevation because we really wanted the outside of the house to look amazing. We wanted the stone, we wanted we wanted like the best looking house that we could have on the outside. So that is where we chose to spend most of our money, and because we were investing so much in that, you get a lot more options as far as what everything looks like. So now you have to choose shutter colors, you have to choose the stone color, you have to choose siding colors, and the builder puts together options for you with a combination of those things. So we narrowed it down to 2 different options. One was actually I'm gonna pop them up on the screen right now. So one was like black shutters, darker roof tiles, and gray siding. The other one was also gray siding, but the roof was a little bit lighter, and the the shutters were like a midnight blue. So we were trying to decide between the black shutters and the midnight blue shutters. And then once we were able to yesterday go through the neighborhood, look around, we saw that a lot of people chose those midnight blue shutters. And then we also were able to determine that not only did we not want those, but we preferred the black, not only because so many people had the blue shutters, but because we just like the way the black looked better. And with this builder, if you choose blue shutters, then all of your exterior doors will be blue too. So your front door is going to be blue, your garage door, if you happen to get a larger garage with a service door, that door is going to be blue, and your basement door is going to be blue. So like your walkout basement door is going to be blue. And when I found that out, I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, because I don't know if I want a blue door in the back of the house where there aren't any. Are there shutters in the back of the house? Oh, maybe there are shutters in the back of the house. I'm not sure, but I wasn't sure if there were going to be shutters in the back of the house, and I don't think there are. And I just didn't want like a blue door sitting alone in the back of the house, and I just thought that would look weird. So yeah, we're definitely going to do the black shutters. And we were able to determine that by just driving through the neighborhood, looking at the other houses that were already built and how they put things together. And that I would recommend 100%, because it was extremely helpful to be able to see it in real life and know what all those options would look like if you decided to choose them. So that was the first thing we did. And then after that, we actually had our appointment. So we showed up early to our appointment by about 15 minutes, and then we were able to actually walk through the house and just look at, just as like a final step, we were able to look at all the details basically of the house and just kind of go through it with a fine-tooth comb and really be sure of what we wanted and what we didn't want. And then I had my computer with me, so if I had any notes, I would just jot them down in my computer. And then when we actually sat down, oh my gosh, they're building an Aldi right there. Okay. And then when we actually sat down with the property manager and our real estate agent, that is another major key. Have a real estate agent, because I don't believe it costs you anything as a buyer, but the builder pays for the real estate agent. And it's just an added layer of protection for you to make sure that your contracts are good, to make sure that if there are contingencies, they're just on top of that stuff. They know about real estate. This is their job, and it's having someone there to represent your interest, because we know the builder is there to represent their own interest, and the property manager is there to represent the interest of the builder. So definitely hire a real estate agent so you can make sure that you're getting the best deal possible, or you're not missing anything, or just you have your ducks in a row. So once we walked through and our realtor walked through, then it was time to sit down with the property manager, and I let her lead because I wasn't really sure. This is my first time ever building a house, and neither of us were sure where to start, so I let her kind of guide it. And she wanted to start with lots, which made sense. So we looked at the property map, and we'd gotten the map in advance as well, so the map was just on their website, and all along she'd been sending, if we were to request an update on which lots were still available, she would send that to us, no problem. And she's been really, really great to work with. Everyone in this process has been amazing, like no complaints with the people that we've been dealing with consistently. So yeah, she sent us the map a couple weeks ago when she was like, it's time for you guys to pick a lot and stuff. She sent us the most updated, most recent version of the map. And then because there are like 14 different floor plans to choose from with this particular builder, you can't have the model that we wanted, you can't have it beside or directly across the street from another model of the same type. So since there were only a few lots that had already been sold, we pretty much had our pick of where we wanted our house to sit, and what kind of house we could get, and what kind of colors we could choose for the outside of the house, because again, they want variety in the neighborhood, and you can't choose the same colors as somebody beside you or directly across from you, and you can't choose the same house as somebody directly beside you or across from you, and you can't, I think that's it. You can't choose the same colors, or you can't choose the same like floor plan as somebody who's directly beside you or directly across the street from you. So because there were so many lots left, there are so many lots left right now, we had our pick, and we had probably about 10 or 15 lots to choose from. But of those lots, we definitely wanted to choose one that didn't have immediate neighbors on all sides. Like, we didn't want to be sandwiched in and directly across the street from somebody. So we got to choose between like 4 lots that either did not have a neighbor to the left or the right, or didn't have neighbors across the street. So of those 3 or 4 lots, we were able to actually see them on paper. We were able to see the grading of the lot. So that is something I can show you guys. So if you look at this, you can see these lines all over it. These lines are showing grading. So you can see how they're pretty close together right here, but then over here, they're really far apart. So those lines on that paper are the grading, and what grading is the amount of like slope or hill you have in your yard. So the more grading, the more drastic that slope is going to be. If there's very little grading, then that means you basically have a flat lot. And our goal for picking a lot was definitely to have a flat lot. We did not want like a really hilly lot, because that we know we want to put a play set in the backyard for the kids. We know we want to be able to build a patio and just have it be a space where we can like hang out and actually use it. So having like a really sloped backyard for us is a deal breaker. So the first lot that we looked at sat all by itself, but it had an easement, whatever you want to call it, drainage field in the backyard or something like that. Like not in the backyard, but behind the backyard was like a drainage area with like a little pond, I guess. It catches the rainwater in that area. So there was a bit of a slope to the yard, and I don't have the actual paperwork for that one, because that we pretty much cut that one out when we saw all the lines and all the grading. But we were able to go out and walk that lot, and after walking it, we realized that it wasn't like super sloped. It was a really gradual kind of like downward slope. It wasn't a cliff, basically. But at the end of the day, we still chose not to go with that lot, because it did have, even though it was a slight slope, it was there. When you walk down, you could definitely feel yourself having to walk up that hill. And there was obviously that drainage thing in the backyard, and it wasn't, or behind the backyard, it wasn't the prettiest thing to look at. So yeah, we X'd that one out. And then we had two other lots directly across the street from each other. Both of them had no neighbor to one side. So we were able to look at those two lots, and of those two, they were different shapes. And this is a well community, so that's another thing to consider. If you're moving into a community with well water versus public water, you will have a drainage field, or you will have a septic system in your yard, and it's either going to be in the front of the yard or the back of the yard. So of the two options that we decided to choose from, both of them were flat, but one of them had the septic system in the front and one had it in the back. And the one that had it in the back, it was all the way to the back of the yard, and the yard was kind of like shaped like more wide in the front, and then it went narrower toward the back. So the very back of the yard was going to have the septic system, but because they're 1 acre lots, it's a really big lot. The house is going to be at the front of the lot, and the backyard was going to be huge, and that was what we wanted. Versus the other one, the drainage system was going, or the septic system was going to be in the front yard, which meant the house was going to sit back further off the street, and it was going to be basically right in the middle of the lot, and there was going to be a smaller backyard because of that. The backyard would have been completely clear and completely flat, but the backyard would have been half the size, or probably a third less than the backyard we're choosing. So hopefully that makes sense. But once we saw the lot with the house, where the house was going to have the septic system in the back, and the house would be able to sit toward the street, that was what we wanted. We did not want the house to be, we didn't want to have a really huge front yard and a smaller backyard. We wanted a smaller front yard and a bigger backyard. So that is exactly what we got. We got a super flat lot with a small front yard, a big backyard, and it's perfect. So yeah, we got exactly what we wanted, and that was the second step. Then, so only my husband, my realtor, and myself went out to walk the lots, and then we went back to the sales office to go back and sit down with the sales manager, and then it was time to go over options. So like I said, I had my spreadsheet ready. I was organized. I had everything ready to go. I had everything priced out. I knew exactly what options we were adding, and because I knew everything up front, I was able to not only tell her the structural options that we were adding, but also pretty much every option. And I was able to compare things with the model, since we were actually sitting in the model, and I didn't have to go to the design. We still have to go to the design center, but it was really helpful to be able to be in the model home and looking at light fixtures, looking at recessed lights, looking at cabinets colors, and looking at all the things that we would want to change, or that we would want to be exactly the same. Being able to look at a window and say, hey, is this window going to be cased? Is this window being cased included? What about this trim? Is this standard or is that standard? Like being in that model and being able to actually point out exact things is so helpful. I would definitely recommend, before you go in for your contract signing and doing that whole process, definitely make sure you're prepared, you have everything outlined. In our case, there was a virtual tour as well, so I've been able the whole time to just go in to the virtual tour and kind of go through the house whenever I wanted to and look at things. And it has a measurement tool in it. I was able to measure walls. I was able to do everything on the website, so it was like super helpful to have all those tools at my disposal. So I didn't actually have to drive to the model every time I wanted to see something, or call the sales manager and say, hey, do you know how big this wall is? Like, yeah, it gave me so many options for planning throughout this process. I was able to find out very specific things about what was included. Like in the breakfast room, there are transoms above each of those windows in the breakfast room, and it's almost fully windows. And I thought that those transoms were going to be an additional fee, but it turns out they were all standard. So that was something that we were able to cut off our list, because we didn't have to add either larger windows or add transoms to those windows. That was something I was able to mark off my list and that we don't have to pay for. But then in other areas, there were transoms that were added, because I had been familiar with that book, and because I was planning the whole time and comparing different things, I knew that a transom was like $300, but a taller window was $60. So do I want to pay $300 to have a transom above the window, or do I want to pay $60 to have a 6-foot window instead of a 5-foot window? If the difference in price is $240, yeah, I'm going to choose to have a taller window, because I'm going to have the same amount of window in the end anyway. It's less decorative to have a larger window versus a transom, but you're also saving $240 for every window you do that with. So the next step was to choose the elevation. And in this particular case, there were 2 different elevations for the style of the house that we wanted on the outside. One had the front door in the middle, and one had the front door on the side. In the end, we chose to go with the one that looked exactly like the model, because it also changed some things about the layout on the inside. So in the model that we looked at, there was a walk-in closet in one of the upper bedrooms, and that is going to be Cody's room. And we wanted her, as she grows into a teenage girl, obviously she's going to need more space, so I really wanted her to have that walk-in closet. And if we chose to go with the door to the right as opposed to the door in the middle, she was going to lose her walk-in closet. We were also going to lose that really big laundry room. It was going to be smaller and more narrow. It wouldn't have space to add in cabinets and stuff like the model had. So we knew when we heard that we definitely wanted to stick with the floor plan that was in the model, which meant that we were getting the door in the middle of the house, as the front door in the middle of the house, and the porch to the side, as opposed to the door on the right and the porch this way on this side. So that was the first step. And just letting her know, hey, we want a side-load garage, we want this elevation, and we want a 2.5 car garage. We also want a drop zone, which kind of takes away from the space in the garage, because you're using part of your garage to be able to have that like mud room or drop zone. And then we also wanted to add the bench and cubbies to the drop zone as well. Another thing that I was able to kind of be on top of was I was like, this model I was looking at the model and I was like, why does it not have a linen closet? Like, that is the weirdest thing. I do not understand how you have a house this big with no linen closet. Like, where are we going to put towels and washcloths and like hair products and shower curtains and bath mats and all the stuff that you would normally put in a linen closet? Where are we going to put that stuff? So she was like, well, in the model home, for some reason they didn't build it with a closet, but it is standard for it to have a closet. So that was such good news, because I just knew that we were gonna have to add that, and it was gonna be like $400 or $500 to add a double door linen closet would have been $500, and I just knew we were gonna have to pay for that. But because it was included, and because I was on top of everything, I was able to not only add that closet and make sure it was going to be in the house, but also really let her know where I wanted it to be positioned, how I wanted it to open, where I wanted the doors to be, and she was perfectly willing to give it to me exactly the way I wanted it. Okay, y'all, so I'm coming to you with my bonnet on because I'm actually sitting here editing the video, and I just wanted to say really quickly that I know I'm saying I a lot in this video. Like, I wanted this, I didn't want that, blah, blah, blah. And the reason for that is because my husband genuinely does not care about most of this stuff. Like, he didn't care if we didn't have a linen closet. He didn't care about like most of the finishes and stuff like that. He really just genuinely did not care. And because I'm going to be filming in this house, like, I cared about lighting fixtures and stuff. I wanted to make sure that we had overhead lights in certain rooms. He wanted the pre-wired lights in the bedrooms, but he didn't care about recessed lights, and I did. He wasn't like, no, I don't want it. But he was like, you know, if that's what you want, then, you know, hey, go ahead and get it. But he cared about the outside of the house, and he and I both chose that together. But there were just parts about the house that he just genuinely did not care about, and he wasn't going to fight me on it. So it really came down to what I wanted in a lot of situations, and that is just what it is. If you are building a house with a man, you probably have similar things. There are things that they care about, but then there are just things that they don't. And then the things that I'm adding aren't really super expensive anyway. Like, recessed lights were like $150, and I added 3 in the breakfast room. The larger ticket items, like the fireplace, we did get that stone fireplace, and that was $1,500. We both wanted that. That was a non-negotiable. The coffered ceiling and the family room, we both wanted that. That was a non-negotiable. That was $4,500. So it's not like I'm choosing things that are like $4,000 or $5,000 and he's like, you know, and he's just not saying anything. The larger ticket items we discussed and we decided on together, but then the smaller items, things that I cared about and he did not, he was perfectly fine with letting me choose those things. So yeah, a linen closet for me was definitely a non-negotiable, because I have to be the one to do the laundry and put the clothes away and all that, and I don't want to have to try to figure out where to put things when they don't have a place. That's part of the reason for getting a larger house. It really doesn't make sense to not have enough storage in a 5,000 square foot house. So yeah, just because I know somebody's going to comment and be like, oh, you so bossy, you just, blah, blah, blah. No. Keep your negative comments to yourself, Nancy, okay? So I just wanted to clarify, and that is it. Because I didn't want it to be that you came up the stairs and you were looking directly at a linen closet. Like, I didn't want that. I wanted it to be to the side, where that bench sits in the hallway. That basically is going to be the linen closet, and hopefully you guys are seeing a picture of that right now. So yeah, I was able to like basically design exactly how I wanted the closet to look, and she was like, we're not a custom builder, but we can do custom things. So if you want to move walls, we can do that. If you want to whatever, like basically you can kind of do whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want, but you can do quite a bit of customizing. Now that I've been thinking about it, the model home has a column in the dining room, but she said that because of structural changes, that is no longer an option. So now there's kind of like an L-shaped wall, and I really don't want that. So I'm gonna call her back and see if it's possible to maybe add 2 columns in the dining room, and that way we can get rid of that square or L-shaped wall. That to me is what is worth paying for, because I really don't want that. So yeah, it's just things like that. Like, if you're prepared and you go in there knowing what you want and you have your list and you know you have all your ducks in a row, you can really get exactly what you want, and you can really be strategic in your process and figuring out what's important to you to pay for. Because there's nothing worse than being bombarded with a bunch of numbers that you can't add fast enough in your head to really know where you're going to fall on that scale when you're trying to stay within a budget building a house. So definitely ask for all your documentation up front before you ever get to this process of trying to like pick out options, and make sure you know exactly what you want and what's worth paying for. So for us, we chose to spend most of our money outside of the house because we knew that it would be really difficult to change out siding and add stone and stuff like that after the fact. We knew that it was important to us to have the outside of our house be really nice, and I didn't want the standard all siding house. So we're going to end up paying like $20,000 for the outside of our house to look like we want, to have a side load garage instead of a front load garage, to have a 2.5 car garage instead of the standard 2-car garage, which also gives us the option to have that mud room, which adds square footage to our house. In order to have the outside of the house look how we wanted it to, we gave up having an upgraded bathroom. So our bathroom is going to be completely standard, like the owner's bathroom is going to be completely standard, and we will renovate it sometime in the future. But I would much rather renovate a bathroom than renovate the outside of my house. So yeah, we could not afford to do everything, so we definitely were very picky about what we chose to do. Like, initially we were going to do hardwood flooring throughout the house, but we couldn't afford it in the end with everything, with all of the stuff on the outside. But in the end, I think it's worth it still. I would still we're still going to proceed with doing it this way, because the flooring is definitely something we can change later on, and carpet is not the end of the world. It's not my first choice, but it's not the end of the world, and we can definitely switch out the flooring later on, and it won't be I think if we chose to try to switch out the outside of the house later on, it would probably be like $30,000 or more. But to do the inside of the house, like the flooring, is probably like maybe $5,000 or $10,000. So it's the lesser of two evils, and that's how we chose to look at it. And one other thing that I think you should pay really close attention to is the basement. So if you're moving somewhere where you're going to have a basement, you should definitely look at, or let the builder know what you're planning on doing. So for us, we're planning on finishing the basement in the end, and we're planning on having rooms down there. So that means we need to add windows to areas where there are no windows, where we're going to have a room. So initially, we were going to build a room for my son in one particular area of the basement, and that's been our plan since day one. But during the meeting with the sales manager, she let us know that none of the windows, that we wouldn't be able to put a window in that area or turn it into like an official bedroom, because none of those walls were exterior walls. Even though it kind of looks like one of them should be an exterior wall, it's under the garage. So now we have to figure out where else we want to put a window, where else we want to put his bedroom, so that he can still have one and we can have an official 5 or 6 bedroom house. So that's something we're still working on, but that's just one of those other things, one of those other details that you kind of need to know what you're planning on doing, and let the builder know what you're planning on doing, so that they can help you account for those things, because you don't want to be trying to put a window into a room after the fact. Like, nobody wants to try to put a window into a basement after the house is already built. Like, you don't want to be cutting holes into the side of your house. You don't. So definitely let the builder know what you plan to do after you take possession of the house, so they can help you to pick out the best options for you for those upcoming projects. So after we chose our lot and we chose all of our options, she was able to give us a final price on the house. This is barring that we don't actually change anything else. So as long as we don't go into the design center and then decide to upgrade other things, we had the final price of the house right now. And then it was basically a Q&A. So I was asking some questions that I've been researching. I've been researching questions to ask, so I was prepared with my questions. One of the questions that I asked was, are we locked in on our price of this house? Or if there are changes, if the price rises on this house, are we still locked in until we actually go to closing? And the answer was yes, you are locked in at this price after signing the contract, unless the price of materials goes up beyond 5%. So as long as there are no crazy spikes in material costs, we will not be subject to a price increase on the price of our house. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. I know it happened like right in the beginning of everything, when the world went crazy. I know lumber prices went crazy, and like cement prices. It was like a bunch of different stuff that was affecting builders, and they were in their ability to deliver houses within like a reasonable time frame. So as long as that doesn't happen again, we should be perfectly fine. The other question that I asked her what the appraisal rate was. So have they ever had any issues with appraisals? And she said no, that they've never had any issues with the house not appraising. In fact, the house usually appraises for more than what they're selling it for, which obviously is good news. And then my realtor was asking if there are contingencies in the contract for if it doesn't appraise, and she was saying, and the sales manager basically said that if the house for some reason did not appraise for the amount, we could negotiate, or I could be released from the contract and just walk away from the house. So obviously in that case we would negotiate, so that we can probably get an even cheaper price on the house and still take possession of our house and buy it. But I don't think that's going to happen, honestly. And then my realtor asked about warranties. So the house itself is going to come with a 10-year warranty, and then there's like a 2-year warranty on plumbing and HVAC and stuff like that. So the 10-year warranty is for structural stuff, and then the 2 years for basically everything else. Another thing I would definitely recommend is that in addition to having your realtor there, have a list of questions that you want answered, so you can just know where you stand and not be in the dark on anything, and you know exactly what's what in the event of whatever situations happen. Yeah, so I think that is it. That is basically as far as we got so far. We chose our lot, we chose our options, we got the final price of the house, and we signed the contract, and we've made a deposit. And that's it. So now we are officially under contract. We're about to start building, and our house should be delivered to us by July if there are no delays. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it was helpful. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.